below you is a massively matured steel planet.
Up by the rest of his team as well, so that's one portion of qualifying done. We've got another 3 of those yet to come, Jeremy.
Yeah, the 2 cars that didn't go out in that GTD session were the number 16 Change Racing Lamborghini. We heard about that, had the off in the earlier session, so that not yet repaired. The other car that we didn't turn a lap, but we did see it out on the race course, or at least in the pit lane, was number 9 Audi for Stevenson Motorsports. Shay told us that Dion van Moltke was heading down pit lane in that car, but it never turned a lap. And I can see now it's been driven back down the pit lane toward the paddock.
Interesting. So they made efforts to get into the session and didn't quite manage it. So some work to do, you could say. Probably from the back of the field, Shay.
There's actually developed a massive traffic jam as the GTD cars hurry to get off pit lane so that GTLM qualifying can begin, and about 6 of them all trying to get off and out of this weather as quickly as they could. It's now been resolved, which is the good news, but these GTLM cars, boy, they're rearing to go. The Risi Ferrari in particular, Tony Vielander is going to be qualifying that car. I do believe that's what I was told earlier, and that will be exciting because remember, a couple days ago, this car wasn't even in the continental United States. It still today was the first day it had turned laps in the U.S. So Johnny, let's see if maybe we can get a dream fairy tale story for Risi, going from a brand new car to possibly going to pole.
Yeah, but it's a good call. I mean, the 62 car has gone tremendously well so far this week, and be a brave person to bet against the 62 car going very strongly in qualifying, if not get pole position. But Risi Competizione, bear in mind that car has had a shakedown and then it's arrived here at Daytona. Phenomenal stuff so far, I think. In conditions, of course, that probably the race will not be held in, so it can go quick in the wet. Question is, can it go well in the dry on Saturday and Sunday? And it may not be a Ferrari that is, but I mean that's the great thing about GTLM. We have no measuring stick, do we, Jeremy? Because virtually everyone's got a new car for 2016.
Yeah, either brand new or substantially updated to meet the new specifications that are coming forward this season. And so, huge amount of excitement in GTLM from inside the paddock and outside as well. And who knows? I mean, gosh, anybody. You could be on the pole here in about 20 minutes or so's time. The fastest time so far today was set in the first session this morning, actually, in that car number 62, the Risi Competizione car. Second quickest overall, a 1:55.078. That time set by Tony Vielander for Risi Competizione. And in the second session, the fastest time then was I think it was Sebastian Bourdais. Yeah, Sebastian Bourdais was fastest in the second session this afternoon at a 1:56.0 in the number 66 Ford GT.
Still some cars from the GTD field being wheeled wrong way down the pit lane, and as soon as those cars are moved out of the way and we've got to the point, in fact the session is live according to that. Well, the clock is still ticking.
Yeah, the clock does tick.
Does it?
I think, yeah, I think
even though
we're about
kind of not in a session at the moment.
I'm not sure, actually.
Interesting. It's on 13.5 minutes.
Yes,
it wouldn't really fit with
anything else. You're right.
No. I assume that's an error, therefore, and still displayed on the screen the cars from the previous session. So we haven't gone green yet for the GTLM part of qualifying. Rain still pouring down though, and the windscreen wipers working hard on the number 4 Chevy Corvette, which hasn't even started to move yet.
Certainly seems to be raining harder again now, doesn't it? I'm sure Shay can attest to that on the pit lane.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think we have slightly better placed Shay than you right now. Although you do get to hear race cars right next to you, which I'm a little bit envious of. And they now suddenly burst into life down the pit lane. So this is the GTLM cars working their way down towards the end of the pit lane. They'll be presented with a green light, so no need to queue up. Straight into the session we go. And it is tippy-toe stuff down the pit lane exit road. Of course, water will have built up all around the circuit. What you need in order to improve a racetrack is cars running on it. And we will have that now, but nowhere near as many, of course, as GTD. That will help competitors in order of finding track space and potentially going for a quick time. But then again, do you want to be running with a buddy for the drafting element on the banking? Yeah,
certainly these Michelin tires, they'll pump a goodly amount of water out of the way, no question about that. But it's going to be difficult for these guys. Again, it's been raining pretty hard since the GTD cars completed their 50-minute qualifying session. So the track now is back to where it was before this entire qualifying session began, i.e. pretty horrible. So very, very easy to make a mistake out there. And the drivers have got to be a little bit careful. See, some of them giving themselves a little bit more room compared to everybody else. The Ford GTs, neither of those cars has yet left its pit box. Looks like one of the Porsches still down there as well. Also the SMP Racing Ferrari has not yet made its way off pit lane.
Yeah, so some people deciding to head into the session later than others.
Again, just to make sure that got a little bit of clear track. I mean, there's no question, is there, that the conditions are going to improve as this 50 minutes goes along. So there's not much point in being out there right now, unless, of course, there is a stoppage that causes the session not to be concluded. But we have to have a minimum of 10 minutes of green flag time in order for the session to be official. So really there isn't a whole heck of a lot of point in being in there out on the track right now, other than get yourself familiar with the conditions, so you are towards the end of the session where you are familiar with how the track is evolving and getting perhaps a little bit drier. But little bit being the emphasis at the moment. A couple of cars coming around the banking now. Risi Ferrari, and hot on its heels, I fancy it's one of the Corvettes, making a move there to the inside as we come toward the tri-oval.
Is there also something in the rule book though about we could get qualifying for GTD, GTLM, PC, but then if it's called off in the prototype element of qualifying, then the whole thing is scrapped? Is that right?
No, they'll still use, I think, the classes that have been out to qualify. They'll still use those in the same order, and to start the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship races, the cars will be set in class order. Within each class, you have the prototype cars at the front, then the PC cars behind them. Then there'll be a split on the racetrack, and then the GTLM cars followed by the GTD cars. So the times, if the official session for each group, each class is completed with its 10 minutes, then those will be good to go for the group positions.
First of the four GTs is now heading down the pit lane. And the sister car stays where it is, but one more into the session.
Yeah, the SMP Ferrari has departed as well, I think.
And now the other Ford GT will join the session as well. So first of all, we had the 66 taking the plunge.
Yeah, literally.
No pun, yeah, quite
no
literally.
Intended, yeah, quite.
And the 67 car now joining it. So almost up to the full complement of GTLM cars. In fact, I think we are now. Can't see any further ones in the pit lane, as coming through out of Speedway Turn 4 and through the tri-oval goes the number 72 Ferrari.
Yeah, that was the that car departed just before the 2 Ford GT. So the next car around, well, next one or two, I think, will be the leader.
And is that the SMP Ferrari? Yes, it is. In the tyre wall down at turn 1. It had literally just finished a quick lap, and 62 Ferrari Risi Competizione Ferrari off as well.
That's at the bus stop chicane.
So it is, yes. So
Spin
braking
for Tony Vielander.
Braking for the bus stop chicane, and the car has switched ends there, facing oncoming traffic as 3 more GTLMs came through. Quick word from Shea Adam down in the pits.
Well, you said a few minutes ago that you were in a more desirable place than me, being up in the nice dry booth, but actually I was standing in the Ford Corvette's box as it launched out onto the track. Ollie Gavin behind the wheel of that one. He did set the pole time here last year, but his co-driver, Tommy Milner's birthday is today. I thought maybe they would give him a chance to qualifying. No. They said his present is that he is indeed getting a day off, as we have now a red flag.
Not surprising, as a Porsche goes straight on there at turn 1 and very nearly connects with the number 72 Ferrari, which is already in the tyres. Yes, Chase mentioned the red flag, but that Porsche came perilously close there to cleaning out the new 488, which is already pretty damaged, going into 3 deep tyre wall down at turn number 1. That's the bit of track that sort of separates the first bit of the horseshoe from the bit where it turns onto the banking, and thank goodness those tyres are there, because you could be in the situation of a car spinning right across the returning leg of the infield part of the circuit.
He's only 2 car lengths away, less than that, from missing that tyre wall completely. Yep. Which I don't like to see. No,
doesn't really bear thinking about that if someone had been leaving the infield and rejoining the banking, but thankfully gently cradled in that 3 deep tyre wall is the Ferrari, but it's lost its rear wing and significant damage to the left-hand side of that Ferrari. It's fixable, certainly, and standing water certainly affecting, yes, the GTLM part of this qualifying session.
These are all proper pro drivers. You know, ABS, many of them consider it to be kind of a hindrance more than a help, to be perfectly honest, but
traction control far better though for the control of a car in wet conditions.
Yeah, probably so, depending on how it's set.
But then again, the 2 incidents that have brought out the red flags were braking zones rather than acceleration zones. It's not cars spinning as they accelerate out of slow corners. That down there,
just simply trying to carry too much speed is what it is. I mean, they both lost it under braking.
Yes,
wasn't
and an element of aquaplaning possibly as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. You know, it is really wet out there, so easily done. It looked like we didn't see Tony Vielander spin, did we? It looked like it was. I don't know whether he lost it under braking or whether he lost it in the middle of the chicane. I fancy he might have lost it in the middle, because the glimpse I saw of the car was kind of toward the exit of that bus stop chicane.
Should tell you, by the way, that Jan Magnussen's done the best GTLM time before the red flag, a 2:05.979. That's not quicker than Norbert Siedler's time, though. Missed out on beating the best GTT time by 0.2 of a second. Second quickest in GTLM, Fred Makovici in the 912 Porsches. Porsche, the 2 Works Porsches didn't really do much at all in free practice 2. I think they were keeping their powder dry and well aware that an accident might happen, so they didn't push really in that session.
It was the same at the Raw as well. In fact, the Porsches were sort of, Yeah, not never up towards the front, but never far off the pace either. It was so closely matched at Royce. Everybody was talking about, well, everybody's sandbagging. He's sandbagging, he's sandbagging. But at the end of the day, they were incredibly closely matched. So they're all sandbagging to exactly the same degree,
which seems unlikely, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I think it shows that they might. Certainly, I don't think anybody was pushing as hard as they could do in the raw test. No question about that in my mind, judging by the lap times. But they were all very, very closely matched, and I think we can expect that going into the race on Saturday.
But in first practice, for example, the 912 car was third fastest, the 911 car was seventh quickest. They were nowhere near the top 10 in free practice too, and I just think the strategy was let's dabble with this session but not really go for any times.
Yeah, I think quite a few people weren't really pushing hard, were they? I agree.
Yeah. And then this session is arguably wetter than any of the earlier free practice sessions, and this is the one that matters, of course. So it's tough.
Significantly wetter. I think you're absolutely right. And just judging by the pictures down there in turn one, as the flatbed truck is out to retrieve the SMP Racing Ferrari.
There is a pond next to that Ferrari, and understandably that car's just
with waves on it.
It's gone skating off and unabated speed, I would imagine, into the tyres, which are backed with concrete walls. I would say concrete blocks that no doubt have been pushed back a few feet as well.
Yeah, you can see how the tyres have been bowed there. The car obviously went in at a pretty good lick.
Well, it came through at the end of a quick lap, and I think the 72 was about to go on to another one in an effort to try and get pole.
It was just about to start its first flying lap, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that car had gone out later than everybody else. So I don't believe, well, he hadn't, I'm pretty sure, turned a timed lap prior to the off. He was just going into his first flying lap. Didn't he make it really make it to turn one, quite frankly?
No, and 2 minutes prior to that, I'm sure turn one was nowhere near as treacherous as that, and every time you come round the conditions have changed again, so difficult to judge. I was impressed with the cars following through after the 72, actually being able to turn left at turn one and skate their way out into the International Horseshoe.
Jimmy Bruni shown at the wheel of that car.
Of the 72?
Yeah, crikey, that's a surprise.
Yeah, it is a surprise for him to make such a mistake, but even the super pros, if you like, are vulnerable, I think, in these conditions that are so hard to judge.
I agree.
So, plenty of emergency vehicles down there at the moment, more so to kind of protect the car and to get it onto the flatbed. Jimmy's out because they're stretchering this car now up the ramps and onto a flatbed trailer.
Yeah, we've had 5 minutes and 8 seconds of green flag time in this GTLM session. The clock currently shows only 4 minutes remaining, so unless the session is extended, perhaps we won't get in the full 10 minutes to make this GTLM session official. That would be a shame.
Ollie Gavin on board the number 3, by the way. Third fastest of the GTLM machines, but way down behind a good gaggle of GTDs.
Jan Magnussen, he was flying, wasn't he? He was on a mission right away off the green flag. He passed the Risi Competizione Ferrari of Tony Villander coming into the tri-oval on the outlap, and was clearly on the case right away, and turned that 2 minutes 05.9. He was the second best lap by Fred Makovici is a 209.2 on his first flying lap. So yeah, that was he was right on a mission there, was Jan Magnussen.
And Ollie Gavin, I should say, in the 4 rather. I was mislabeling those columns there. Third in class, but in the number 4 Chevy Corvette. And Dirk Werner in the 25 BMW M6, fourth fastest for the GTLMs, a 2:14.910. But Gavin and Werner behind over 10 GTD times that were set in much better conditions. It's brightening up a little bit, I would suggest, although the rain is still coming down at a fair rate of knots. We may not get any more of this GTLM session. As Jeremy says, a shame. But we may have some improvement for the remaining 2.
Yeah, there is some there is some margin built into the schedule. So with a bit of luck, we will be able to get this back and get this completed. But there's still a fair bit of cleanup still to be done. Now the car has barely yet been moved. It's got 2 front wheels on the ramps to go up onto the flatbed, but we're going to be several more minutes before we can get this car out of the way.
Yeah, rear wing certainly no longer there. I'm just trying to assess the rest of the damage. It's difficult because
can't see it all coming. It's all on the left-hand side of the car. The car buried into the tyres on its left. So it's done a kind of a presumably pretty much a complete
I think
180 at least.
Yeah, it's just broken away under braking, or perhaps just that input of left-hand steering necessary to get it into turn 1, and the car's snapped around. Very similar to what happened to the 62 on the far side.
There's the wing.
Oh yes.
Detach head.
So that is retrievable for SMP Racing, but no doubt a damaged part, and the supports as well will need replacing.
Finally now the car beginning to be winched onto the flatbed.
So
attractive colour scheme on that car, isn't it, with the red and the different shades of blue along with the white there. Really is a good looking car, very distinctive of course for SMP.
True, yeah.
The BR01, BR Engineering 01 P2 car will be part of the prototype ranks this weekend as well. Pretty much the same livery.
It's also very similar though to Ford Chip Ganassi Racing, as John pointed out earlier on. So as we go into dusk and then to dawn, it may be pretty tricky to tell those two cars apart on the back straight.
3 cars apart, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't figured out how to tell the two Fords apart, actually.
You have the two DPs in there as well, because I have to say the Rileys look very similar to the Ford GTs, as you would think, from the same team.
Slightly different blue on the Rileys.
Okay,
the two prototype cars from Chip Ganassi Racing. One has
blue front,
and the other one
has
red
a red
front.
Yeah, that's run like that for many years, hasn't it?
I wish they'd done that with the Ford GTs as well, but they haven't. And I guess there's a red rear wing on the, I guess that's number 66 car, I think. So maybe that's the difference between those two cars.
Graham Goodwin showing me a photograph of the Ferrari over there, and front right looks to be out of alignment, so possible suspension failure as a result of that crash as well, maybe. Hub failure, something like that. Are we saying cause or effect? Difficult to tell. But I think it was all about the rain, yeah. So, now that scene showing signs of people dissipating after the collection of a rather battered and bruised Ferrari. Don't like to see a brand new car 488 looking like that. You give a sort of wry noise there, as if it's not a great.
No, you have to pay for it, Johnny.
True, yes. It'll polish out, Jeremy. It's absolutely fine.
Oh man, they're going to fish it out of the lake down there and bring it back to the pits.
Yes. So that wheel looks in alignment, I would say. The rear right and the left-hand side, though, of that car pretty damaged, particularly the rear left corner. So it'll go back now to the paddock for SMP Racing, stroke AF Corsa to assess, and we hope to see that 72 car out for the race. I'm sure it's no question about it being out for the 24 hours.
Well, I would hope. I mean, there can't be an awful lot of spare parts on those cars. Brand new cars, of course, the 488 for this season, and as John was saying a little while ago, the number 62 machine for Risi Competizione just literally delivered yesterday or the day before to North America. It had a shakedown, however, at Fiorano at the factory in Maranello in Italy, so it's not without any running, but yeah, the good news is, as you were suggesting there, they've got 2 days now to prepare this car pretty much for the race, less a couple of 3 hours. So assuming there's nothing really substantial in terms of suspension damage or chassis damage, that should be plenty of time to repair that car.
That doesn't look too bad. I think the cushioning effect of the tyres has done that car a favour.
All the bodywork on the back there, it's all crumpled across, and it broke the wing off. And these things, they tend maybe sometimes not to look too bad, and then you start taking the bits, take the skin off, and then you say, oh dear, there's that bit, oh dear, oh whoops, oh there's another bit over there. So hopefully it'll be not too bad.
Yeah, the only issue that I can see, gentlemen, for that, not necessarily with the car, but with the drivers, because they won't be able to do their nighttime qualifying. And James Collado, for one, has never raced here before. So that would be interesting to see who, if anybody, gets a waiver. We've got one of the PC cars trying to join in at the end of this session.
So IMSA tends to be more lenient. Le Mans is definitely very much sticklers for that sort of regulation, but here with the fact that James has done 24-hour races, particularly at Le Mans, with the association there is these days between IMSA and the ACO, the Automobile Club de l'Ouest at Le Mans. I'm sure there will be a waiver applied there, and I'm sure he'll be fine. But if he wasn't as an experienced as driver as James and the other guys on that team, yeah, it would be very much a headache.
Graham Goodwin suggests it's the 88 Starworks Motorsport Orica that tried to join in there. Mark Farmay, Sean Johnston, Mara Engel and Felix Rosenquist.
I just wanted to play a bit early.
A bit of a ticking off there, surely, at the very least.
Trying to go out?
Yeah, trying to go out and join the session.
It was going to the end of pit lane as the lights went green.
Let's get going.
Car, racetrack, I'm struggling to hold back. Let me out. But their time will come in a moment or two.
Felix Rosenquist, he's still on the entries for that car, isn't he? And he's been busy this week. He's done a couple of days of testing in an IMSA Lights car down at Homestead the last couple of days. Actually set the fastest time. So the reigning champion of the FIA Formula 3 series in Europe, and also the two-time winner of the Macau Grand Prix, really begin to make his mark here in North America. He's not yet decided on his full-time program for 2016, but testing the waters there in the Indy Lights car, driving, I believe, for Bilardi Auto Racing, and setting the fastest time yesterday, about 300 miles or so south of here at Homestead Miami Speedway.
So, sky looks brighter, track not really improving, and looks very, very damp offline.
Just as grey as it was.
I mean, the good thing is the banking drains well. Once it stops raining, then that should dry up pretty swiftly.
The banking drains well, you're right, but the infield doesn't, because it is very flat out there, and there's very little camber on the road, so that certainly takes quite a bit to dry out, and that transition off the banking into turn one is particularly treacherous. Just ask Jimmy Bruni, and there's another car going a little bit wide there into turn one. Was that one of the BMWs? Going a little bit wide, and also the transition onto the banking at the exit of the end of the infield section is particularly treacherous as well. And then of course the bus stop chicane on the end of the back straight, that is also tricky, because there's again virtually no, well, there is no camber in the road, because you're turning across the oval there onto that little bus stop chicane to the left, then to the right again, and left back up onto the banking. So it really is tricky around here.
Another chance for Dirk Werner to improve on his time, doing a 2:14.9 earlier on before we had the red flag, and it was a similar time to Ollie Gavin. So the BMW M6 is out there. The 912 Porsche also circulating. That was the best placed of the works Porsches. Fred Makovici still at the wheel. And
hats off again here to the organisers here, the stewards, the race stewards, because rather than just call that session to a halt, they've extended the time limit, and then now we're shown as 9 minutes completed in this session. So the drivers are going to have time here to complete this lap and maybe do one more. The checker flag will be out by the time they complete this lap, but maybe time then just to do one more to get around and set one more flying lap. So again, hats off to the stewards here, Bo Barfield and the race director and the rest of the team. Hats off to them for making that very smart decision. Let's give everybody our money's worth here. Let these drivers get on the racetrack and try and settle this on track for the positions to start the race on Saturday.
Splishing and splashing its way through the bus stop chicane is the number 4 Chevy Corvette.
Who was that right up against the banking coming off turn 4, coming towards now in the tri-oval? Was it one of the Fords?
Ollie Gavin, by the way, at the wheel still of the number 4
really
Corvette.
High line there. The kind of James Weaver line, if you like.
Yeah.
Right up against the wall, all the way around the tri-oval as well. Deep onto the brakes there into turn 1. I think that was Joey Hand, who just came across the line, moved up into briefly into the third position. He's now tipped down a position by Oliver Gavin in car number 3. So it's Jan Magnussen, whose time set earlier on was quickest, but now guess who's to the top of the charts?
No surprise to see Nick Tandy on board the 911 at Porsche to go quickest. John Edwards in the number 100 BMW going second fastest to 202.497. Alessandro Pierguidi in the 68 Ferrari third quickest to 203.309. But as I say that, Fred Makovici joins the sister car at the top of the time. So Tandy and Makovici 911 and 912. And the Porsches, I mentioned maybe keeping their powder dry earlier on this week. They're coming to the fore now in the wet, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think Makovici just went straight on there at turn 1, so I don't think this time is going to be an improvement. He's coming now down into the Porsche. It's awfully difficult to see the cars. I'm pretty sure that's a Porsche, and I think it was Makovici. So I don't think he'll see an improvement. So that's probably going to be the best he will do. The checkered flag is out, and so these laps, I didn't see when a checkered flag came out, to be perfectly honest, but I would assume, by the way Makovici went into turn 1, that he was still looking to try and get another lap in before the session is ended.
Should just mention, by the way, it wasn't the 88 PC Orica that tried to join the session. It was actually the number 20 BR1. And the 66 Ford GT has gone off track. The exhaust spitting flames, trying to rejoin. The water will put those flames out very quickly. Off onto the grass it goes.
That was a scary moment for a couple of guys behind him there, because they had to take evasive action to avoid Joey Hand. He had he lost it coming through the bus stop, coming on the towards the exit of that corner, kind of in the middle of the whole thing, and that will cost him any chance of improvement. There's an improvement there for Dirk Werner, moves himself up into 5th position. Number 62 Ferrari of Tony Vilander, he moves ahead of Werner into 5th. There's a Corvette of Oliver Gavin, good enough only for 7th place.
So Tandy, Makovici, John Edwards in the number 100 BMW Team RLL M6. New for 2016, as so many of these cars are. Tony Vilander behind Alessandro Pierguidi. So Ferrari, BMW, Pierguidi, Vilander and Dirk Werner. And Werner, although improving his time, now suddenly finds himself 6th in the class as opposed to 4th as he was for so long during that red flag.
What a great lap from Nick Tandy. 201.408, almost a whole second in hand over his teammate Fred Makovici. Wow, that is just stunning. This guy driving just now with so much confidence. Had a wonderful season last year, of course. Won the Le Mans 24 Hours, won a Petit Le Mans at the end of the season. Well, not only in the class in GTL, won it overall. And he is just riding the crest of a wave, quite literally today. But in terms of his confidence, just magnificent effort again from Nick Tandy. There's Patrick Pilet on the pit wall. I think he's pretty impressed as well.
Gets out, says, I've done it again, haven't I? I kind of tried my best and it was good enough once more. And yeah, he's becoming known as a rainmeister as well, isn't he, after Petit Le Mans last year, winning such a big race in a GT car. But he's the most grounded person you could wish to meet, Nick Tandy.
3 poles last season for Nick Tandy. Has had another one now, and yeah, that's mighty impressive. The only other guy to win more than one. I think he was the only one to win more than one pole last year, wasn't he? No, Oliver Gavin won 2 poles as well. Forgive me.
Very little warning Joey Hand had of that spin, exiting the bus stop chicane.
Just trying to get on the power coming off that corner there, and as he turned right for the second time to go back up to turn left onto the banking, the car just got away from him, and a couple of cars behind had to take pretty stout evasive action.
I think that was probably the sort of thing that happened to Tony Vilander in the 62 as well. Just caught one of those damp patches as the selfies are taken down at Porsche Motorsport, with Patrick Pilet taking the snap. Nick Tandy yet to take the helmet off, but will do now, together with the hands device. A 201.408 puts that car quickest in GTLM. Shea Adam can't be too far away from getting the interview with Nick as well. Fred Makovici, a 202.364 puts that car second, and the 100 car BMW, driven by John Edwards, third fastest, a 202.497. And
Kevin Estra down there as well, of course, celebrating with Patrick Pilet and Nick Tandy. They will start from the pole in GTLM on Saturday afternoon.
And Shea is down there with Nick.
Nick Tandy, what is it with you and driving in the rain? I mean, we thought 2015 was the peak of your career. Clearly you started off on another strong foot.
Yeah, it took us a little while to get a pole last year, but I mean, it's rain. And you remember the last time it rained?
I remember what happened.
We didn't do too badly as a team, so I quite enjoyed it, the fact that we got one green lap and it was all or nothing. Don't make a mistake, don't go off. The BMW behind me caught me a lot in the infield, but he made a mistake going out onto the banking, so obviously he lost a lot there. But yeah, it's a good result. Not bad, not a bad way to start.
And it's Daytona. This track has so much meaning for you, and it's such a special place. You're on pole in class at Daytona International Speedway. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's the second one after 2013 as well, but it's the biggest stock car track in the world, and I'm a stock car driver from the UK, so this place means a lot to me, and the Daytona 24 Hours means a lot to the team and Porsche in general. So we'll try and stick around at the front for 24 hours now.
I wouldn't be surprised if you do. Thanks, Nick.
Cheers.
I love it when he says I'm a stock car driver from the UK, because I started commentating on the short ovals up and down England, and that's where Nick, first cut his teeth in mini stocks racing at the age of 11, 12 years old, and still goes out in his dad's classic hot rod from time to time as well, and goes very, very well in that.
Yeah, and certainly on his bucket list, isn't he? He's very much interested in driving a stock car around here, not only just driving a stock car around here, but racing one as well. He's super adaptable, Nick. He can drive anything. No reason at all to suggest why he couldn't be competitive in a Sprint Cup car either.
So, into another 15-minute session. Not hanging about here at Daytona because there's a little bit of time to catch up, I suppose. So a minute already into the PC part of qualifying. And this will see the Orica FLM 09s out onto track. Give you some drivers that are taking the session in a moment or two just as they head over the line for the first time. But with the first prototypes out on track again, there's no measuring stick for many of these drivers. They don't really know how hard to push on this installation lap. But this is what the out lap is for, I suppose. And then you really get your head down once one circuit is complete.
Yeah, Johnny Mollum took the pole here, didn't he, last year? So he'll be looking perhaps to do the same. He'll be driving, I believe, car number 20. At least I presume he will.
Yes.
And
yep.
For BAR1 Motorsports, confirmed by Shea Adam in my ears, and there've been some shuffling around as far as the rest of the driver lineup is concerned for the number 20 car and the sister machine. Very late in the day, the driver lineup was arranged for that.
It's BAR1 Motorsports. It was done before race day.
Johnny was the one who tried to leave pit lane during GTLM. During the GTLM session, it was Johnny Mollum who got a little overeager and tried to go out with the GTLM cars.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Shay. So, as we thought, well, we thought originally it was the 88, then we corrected that and said it was the 20 car, and Johnny Mollum, yes, at the wheel, desperate to get out there, but he had to wait his turn. And this is it. Already with 2.5 minutes gone of the session, it takes you that long to get around to the tri-oval and now start qualifying in anger. And the 20 car in with a good shout for pole position, but there are other cars out there.
Oh, yeah. Another Englishman, Jack Hawksworth, would be, I presume, at the wheel, probably at the wheel of the car number 8. IndyCar driver now, of course, in the Verizon IndyCar Series, former champion in the Pro Mazda ranks, and Jackson really making a name for himself over here, making very much a home for himself in North America, and has shown extremely well driving these PC cars, particularly for RSR racing in the last couple of years. So I'm assuming that it's going to be Jack Hawksworth driving car number 8. But a whole bunch of other drivers out here with lots of experience and lots of ability as well.
So Johnny Mollum's teammates, Tommy Dreesy, Mark Drumright, Ricardo Vera and Brendan Gowan. That was the late announced one, Brendan Gowan. And then the other car is Adam Merzon, Don Yount, John Falb, Ryan Eversley and Ryan Lewis in the number 26.
Kyle back in a PC car, lot of success here a couple of years ago.
And it was the 38 car earlier on in one of the free practice sessions today that stalled at the bus stop. I think that was one of those incidents where the 38 couldn't quite make the turn, had to straight line the bus stop, but as the rules suggest, you have to come to a complete halt before you can then continue. And the danger is the car stalls, and that's exactly what happened to the 38 machine. Bit of a wiggle there, exiting the second of the horseshoes for 38 and down into the braking area, getting the car stopped. In fact, very, very slow there, just trying to get it pointed in the right direction and fired up onto the banking. So if that is Kyle Marcelli. He is taking it very easy indeed, as you would
really
you would
moving
understand.
around, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. And of course, the downforce of these prototype cars is, you know, tantamount to, or very important to how they run. But if you've got no speed for the car, then the downforce just doesn't kick into action.
Yeah.
The faster you go,
that's right,
the quicker you know, the safer you are,
yeah,
effectively.
more downforce the car creates, and the more grip it gets as well. So yeah, you're right. Here's the number 85 car. It's the JDC Miller Motorsports entry. I think that's Stephen Simpson.
Johnny Molim definitely at the wheel of the 20. Ryan Eversley in the 26, and that's done a 209.416. But the time's not troubling those of GTLM or GTD as we stand. So the 85 car heading through. That's the car run by JDC and Miller Motorsports.
Yep.
And you reckon South African Stephen Simpson at the wheel?
I do.
Okay. 88. Up on the banking is the second of the Starworks Motorsports Oricas, and that's the car we thought had tried to join the GTLM session, so apologies for that to that crew. Mark Kvarme, Sean Johnston, Marengel and Felix Rosenquist, with, for later on in the season, Ashley Freiberg to join, but not here this weekend.
What a wonderful opportunity for Ashley.
Yeah.
Driving, of course, in a GTD class this weekend in one of the Turner Motorsport BMWs. But as you suggest, you'll be driving that one of the Starworks cars for the regular season.
20 car up on the banking for Bar One Motorsports.
Just need to get a ride for Ashley's teammate from last year, Trent Hinman, who's been left without a ride pretty much at the last minute. He was told very late in the game in December that he wasn't going to be back as a BMW junior this year. That kind of closed a few doors for young Trent Hinman, and that's a great shame because he's a very talented young man, a really personable young man as well, and he'd be a great addition to any team.
Another good time for Johnny Molim there. Puts the car up to 10th position, I reckon that is. Overall, a 206.312 though, easily the class leader at this stage. And second position for Ryan Eversley, who has also improved to 207.485 in the number 90 in the number 26 car.
But halfway through this 50 minutes qualifying session for the PC cars, there goes Stephen Simpson across the line, whereas he doesn't appear on the timing.
Let me do some channel hopping to see
whether in 28th overall.
Okay.
It is Stephen Simpson indeed at a 2 minutes 12.4.
James French driving the 38, Alex Popov in the 8 car, and Sean Johnston in the 88. And there is a car out on the grass there trying to rejoin. Joe Bradley is down in the pit lane and maybe can bring us some news. Joe.
Well, Johnny, the only news I can bring you is that it's very, very wet still.
Yes.
And it sort of remains to be seen just what sort of session that's going to bring us. Very, very tricky out there. We're seeing cars going off. Almost lakes developing on the runoff, so you do not want to leave the tarmac. I'm just watching one of the screens there. You see the classic karting line there through the first of the hairpins on the infield, going around the outside where the grip is in these very wet conditions, not where the rubber's laid down on a more conventional textbook racing line. So a very, very tricky session in store for us, I think.
Yeah, Johnny Molim there, he'd set the fastest time of the session by quite some margin, but he made a mistake there down in the second of the horseshoes and slid off wide onto the grass. A very muddy excursion there, but he's got the car back on the racetrack and is still out. And is he coming into the pit lane this time? No, he's coming around the banking.
Coming around the banking, may well stay out, although it'll take a few corners for the tyres to clean up after that off-track moment. But Johnny Molim's still the best PC car. 206.312, as I've mentioned. Ryan Eversley second quickest, and then need to peer down to the second page of the timing screen to see Stephen Simpson third place to 212.490 in PC.
Sorry, I said it was Johnny Molim off the road, didn't I? I apologise. The second of the Bar 1 cars. It's Ryan Eversley who was off the road there. My apologies, that's car number 26.
And very nearly again, actually. Eversley drifting the car off I think that was the infield, actually, to head back up onto the banking, struggling to hold on to the rear end of this Orica is Ryan Eversley into the bus stop, not really knowing how much grip there is with every lap. The 38 car then negotiating that part of the circuit. Stephen Simpson has improved. That's James French working his way out of the bus stop now and onto Speedway Turn 3.
We haven't seen car number 54, have we? For Core Autosport.
Car 54, maybe an absentee.
That's
yeah, I would agree with that.
That's the multiple champion, of course, in the PC class, Core Autosport, with John Bennett and Colin Brown last year, joined this weekend by Mark Wilkins, who's been a regular with that team over the last several years, but also Martin Plowman, who had a pole position last year, driving for the Bar 1 team. So he's stepping across this year for the long distance races for Core Autosport. That's a very, very strong driver lineup in car number 54, but I've not seen that car yet set a time in this session.
No, good spot that, Jeremy, as Johnny Molam still trying to improve, although a 206.312 is easily good enough to put that PC car into pole position in class.
Yeah, 1.2 seconds clear of his teammate Ryan Eversley. So the two Bar 1 cars way out in front. Stephen Simpson, a 209.5, third fastest in PC with, just exactly 4 minutes remaining.
And the next set of cars already preparing themselves for their 15-minute session, the prototypes. It's, as you say, just less than 4 minutes to go. And is there some improvement, I wonder, for the remaining PC cars?
Yeah, I think most people did deciding just discretion the better part of Valley here. We've not got very many cars out on the race right now. We've had several of them come onto pit lane. We didn't see in the Core Autosport car at all, as the prototype cars now coming out to take their positions on the pit road. There goes Stephen Simpson across the line one more time. He's been gradually improving his time, does so again, a 208.280 for car number 85. That bright yellow car number 85 for JDC Miller Motorsports. Third fastest in the class. So Johnny Molam, who improved last time around, a 205.708 for car number 20. The Englishman looking for his second straight pole here in the PT class at Daytona. Fastest is in the 8th position overall, behind 7 GTLM cars. So Johnny Molan fastest in PC, 205.7, second fastest in the class, 207.4, so a second and 3/4 the margin between the two teammates from Bar 1. Ryan Eversley in second place and Stephen Simpson in third, the only other guy on the front page of the scoring system here, the top 26 or 7 cars, and fourth fastest in the class at 2 minutes 12, set by James French in car number 38.
Water pouring off these PC cars, and the holes above the wheels in the bodywork enable quite a lot of water to leave the wheels, I suppose. So it's no longer on the track and no longer affecting the cars, but it is not favourable out there at all, let me assure you.
So we haven't seen the number 8 car of Star West Motorsports. We haven't seen we saw maybe number 88 did a lap or so. That was Sean Johnston.
Alex Popov has done a time in the 8.
Okay.
So that has been out. 2:19.
Right, a couple of laps and then parked it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen number 52 car, defending champion of the Tequila Patrón North American Endurance Championship, winner of 3 of the 4 long distance races last year, including right here at Daytona, PR1 Matheson Motorsports. Car number 52, we haven't seen that car out either.
90 seconds to go.
Again, I think they just decided there's only 8 cars in the class, so you just do not risk it. We do not want that car. We don't want to have to do any more work than we have to prior to the race. So I think several of the teams here, perhaps the more experienced teams, electing not to go out and actively set a quick lap time. This one presumes that is what the thinking is.
I think the thing that struck me, particularly from the GTLM session, is the small amount of warning you get when the car's about to snap away. There is no time to react, particularly over there at the bus stop where we had a Ford GT and a Ferrari spin around, and if you spin into, a tyre wall or worse, a concrete wall, there's so much damage that you could do to the car, and it's effectively for nothing, because these wet conditions are not going to persist into the rest of the week, and the race is going to be held, we reckon, in fully dry conditions. So qualifying only counts for so much in a 24-hour race.
Yeah, a little bit of bragging rights, and that's about it, quite frankly.
And I think the risk factor far outweighs those bragging rights, particularly watching some of these PC cars that are so reliant on the downforce. You just cannot get that to work because you're getting through each corner so gingerly, worried that the car will snap away. Visibility also an issue as that water pours off the front wheels. And sensibly, most of these PC drivers have found a little bit of track to their own, so they're not in the rooster tails of other cars.
Right.
So the 15 minutes is up. Johnny Molam looking like he's got pole position. He did improve, actually. He did a 2:05.708. So that has brought the time down even more for the 20 car as the checkered flag is waved.
And Johnny, I think, is on pit lane already as the checkered flag comes out.
So that brings to a close the third of 4 qualifying sessions. It's the prototypes next, but PC will be topped by the 20 car from Bar 1 Motorsports and Johnny Molam. His co-drivers Tommy Dreesy, Mark Drumright, Ricardo Vera and Brendan Gowan. And Johnny doing the business there to be eighth in overall standings behind those GTLM cars and easily the quickest PC machine. Stephen Simpson going second quickest at 2:07.413. So he left that pretty late to slot himself into second position, but it's a 2:05.7 playing a 2:07.4. And Ryan Eversley misses out on second position on the grid by 0.07 of a second.
Yes, good lap there by Stephen Simpson right at the end there. So 2:07.4 against Johnny Molam's 2:05.7. And then that lap enough by Stephen Simpson to split the 2 Bar 1 entries on the grid.
Fourth position in PC, James French's time of a 2:12.002, although has James French just gone through and improved? I think he may have done, yeah.
Just came across the line right there at 2:11.1.
And Joe Bradley, I know, is very close to Johnny Molam in order to sidle on in and get a word with him.
Once he gets his helmet off.
Once he gets his helmet off. Okay.
Again, the congratulations there, first of all, from the team owner, Brian Alder, then from Tommy Dreesy as well. Tommy, of course, a massive amount of experience in all sorts of different cars. Tommy's one of the great enthusiasts. Very much looking forward to this race, as he always does. But what a good effort that was by Johnny Molam. Second year in a row. Put that car on the pole, as you see a teammate Ryan Eversley there gives him a clap on the back as well.
Go ahead, Joe Bradley.
Well, Johnny Molam, I'm sure you're not mind getting wet with me out here to do this interview. Class pole for the Daytona 24 Hours 2016. Sounds pretty good, that.
It does. It's not as, if I'm honest, I'm really pleased for Bar 1 and everybody, but this one's not as sweet as last year, where I was in a really close fight with Colin Braun and Renger van der Zande and people like that. I think people have changed their strategy slightly for this one, and especially with the weather. I just pushed as hard as I could for the first 2 or 3 laps, and then there was so much standing water at the bus stop. It was getting crazy. It was beginning to aquaplane. I mean, just for the organisers' sake, if it's raining like this during the race, for us, it's going to be like Petit Le Mans again. In terms of the infield and the bus stop for aquaplaning, it's just crazy. The exit of 6 and the middle of the bus stop is just nuts. The only advantage is on the banking, because it's banking, there's no aquaplaning on the banking. So, but the white lines, I've never actually got sideways on the banking on a white line before. So that just shows you how tricky these PC cars are to drive.
We saw you leave the track on a couple of occasions, Johnny. Just how much risk did you put into that lap?
I didn't put too much risk in the bus stop, because I knew that's where you get, and turn 1, because I know that's where it can go wrong, horribly wrong. And I just tried to get on the throttle as early as I could and drive it off the corners, and I spun it coming out of 6 just because I hit a puddle, and I just ran out of opposite lock. If I'd had more opposite lock, I could have held it, but I just literally ran out of opposite lock and went round, just did a spin turn. But by then I think the conditions were getting worse, so it was very difficult to improve.
The thing is, Johnny, the forecast is the rain is going to stop hopefully during the night tonight and into tomorrow. And we look towards the race. The race is going to be a different kettle of fish altogether than certainly, today's conditions and qualifying in general.
You make a very good point there, and I think that's why you saw a few people in the PC class not really going for it. I mean, we went out there and I thought I wasn't going to take stupid risks, but I thought if I'm going to go out and qualify, I'm not going to poodle around, I'm going to give it one. But you're right, and I'm slightly concerned for our car for race setup. We've got a very good car in terms of lap time on newer tyres, but we need to get it slightly better still for double stinting and maybe even triple stinting tyres. And unfortunately, Pete, my engineer, obviously that we were going to do a few things to evaluate in the dry on older tyres, and we haven't been able to do that. So the first time I discover whether I've got a decent car or not, because I probably won't drive tomorrow, will be on the first stint of the race.
You like a challenge. I'm going to let you get dry now because we're wet enough out here, aren't we,
in the
mate?
rain, thanks to you, Joe. Thanks very much, mate.
Well done, mate. Well done. Congratulations. Johnny Molam, car number 20, the Bar 1 Motorsport PC pole position for the Daytona 24 Hours.
Although Joe, he has got slight advantage because he's wearing a cap, and you don't go for caps, do you? You go full on get soaked to the skin. He's from the northeast of England, for goodness sake, so well used to it. And Johnny now getting some photographs taken in front of the pole car. Very, very pleased with that. And as soon as those snaps are done, no doubt he'll be off for a hot shower and a warm drink after some work. Well done there from Johnny Molam and the Bar 1 Motorsports team for setting the car up. Difficult to know kind of which way to go as far as setup is concerned. Full wet, yes, but as we're saying, you need to go reasonably quickly for that downforce to work on a PC car. Interesting to hear from him that he was just taking it very, very easily into turn 1 and into the bus stop. It's just the opposite from what drivers are used to, I suppose. Going slowly in order to get a quick time. Make sure you don't throw it off the road, but whatever is necessary is done. And now Johnny has an opportunity to hop over the wall, and we can look forward to the final qualifying session of the quartet, because it will be the prototype machines out next. And we speak of the importance of downforce, even more so arguably for these higher powered, quicker prototype cars. So we will see the 2 Action Express machines. Not seen a great deal from the 31 so far in free practice, but the Whelan sponsored Corvette DP will head out there. Be interesting to see which drivers are picked as well for qualifying. Ford Jeep Ganassi Racing with their 2 Rileys, 01 and 02. We were saying very easier to pick those 2 cars apart with the blue front and the red front. They've run like that for many years. Rain's still pouring down, and an effort to try and sweep some of that standing water off the track being done now. But the session is live. The green light flicks at the far end of the pit lane, and now the cars join the session. Does everyone go for it straight away? No. Parts of the pit lane, by the way, floodlit now because the light's slowly being lost, and in those floodlights you can just see how much rain is pouring down and adding to the standing water on the pit lane apron.
Yeah, it's really nasty out there. AJ Allmendinger just tweeting a couple of minutes ago how awful the conditions are, and taking his hat off to his team at Oz Negri, who's going to take the opportunity to go out there during this qualifying session in that car number 60 for Michael Shank Racing. That was a pace setter here a few weeks ago during the Raw test. Quickest again, I think, wasn't it, this morning in the first session as well with Oz Negri, so we'll see what he can do in these conditions. But it really is nasty out there, and I think perhaps a couple more cars electing not to go out in these conditions. I don't think we're going to see the Delta Wing, but they tweeted just a few minutes ago as well, but they will be back out tomorrow. Once it dries up, they want to get their feet wet.
That's such a light car, though, and it doesn't take a lot of standing water for it to be.
There's nothing to be gained really from taking any risks in this sort of a session.
No, it's that car that's looked the most twitchy and most difficult to predict.
Yeah,
the behaviour of it. Very, very quick in the dry, as we know. A 1:54.807, the best time today. Oz Negri in the number 60 Michael Shank Racing Ligier. We ain't going to get anywhere close to that in these conditions. But there is the car in question, the 60 car, working its way out of turn 6 now, and that is where Johnny Molam had his spin in the pole-sitting PC machine. So we know that the grip through turn 6 leaves a lot to be desired. And
yeah, I don't think there's much grip anywhere out there at the moment. It's really nasty.
Apart from the top of the banking, which sensibly is where the 02 car is right now, heading through speedway turns 1 and 2.
We saw in GTLM, didn't we, that Joey Hand was running right up against the banking, both in turn 4 and around the tri-oval as well. So right up at the top of the banking rather than most of the kind of conventional lines much lower down. But Joey taking that opportunity in the Ford GT, but that was fine. But it didn't go quite so well when he got down to the bus stop because he had a bit of a spin down there. Thankfully, no damage though to number 66 car.
So still the 0-2 way up top right, virtually skimming the safer barrier as it comes through Speedway turn 4 now, and this will be to start the first flying lap, the first qualifying lap in anger. Also out there is the 0-1. In fact, pretty much all the prototype cars that came out onto the apron are now in the session. So do they think the weather's probably going to get worse through this and it's better to set your time early on in the 15 minutes? Of course, that was, in hindsight, the decision that the GTD and the GTLM cars perhaps should have made. Very, very difficult for the 0-2 there to turn right and left. Oh, and running out wide at the International Horseshoe as well. Just trying to get the 0-2 car stopped and make its way towards the kink between the two horseshoes. And it's a good point you made, Jeremy, about the infield, because it is so flat. That's retaining all the water at the moment. So it is a question of waiting, and then you can get the hurry up once you head onto the banking, where it is draining pretty well, as you would expect. So the 0-2 car, again, very tail happy, working its way out of the second of the horseshoes. What of the Mazda, one of the two Mazdas, that is heading into the International Horseshoe now and sensibly taking lane 2 or even lane 3, because a lot of the water accumulating right next to the curbing. You want to stay off the white lines, but you also want to give the curbs a wide berth as well. The natural camber of the road delivers all the water to the inner edge. The 70 Mazda now heading into the second of the horseshoes. Get you some drivers in a moment as well, just as soon as the cars head over the line at the end of their first flying laps. We'll be able to tell you who's at the wheel of each of these cars. But the Mazda Motorsports Lola had a little bit of a moment, I think, heading into the second of the horseshoes and splashing its way now up towards turn 6. So up onto the banking, that BO8 80 goes. Meanwhile, the number 5 car from Action Express Racing, the Corvette DP, heading onto the banking too. And still no prototype cars onto the top page of the screen yet. So still Nick Tandy that is the quickest timers. Both Corvettes go totally the wrong way at turn 1. That was the number 10 car, the Wayne Taylor entered machine, and the Action Express, the 5, going straight on at turn number 1. Now the 10 machine was able to correct that pretty easily, but the number 5 car had to turn right, go anti-clockwise, and then rejoin the track.
Yeah, Ricky Taylor's, I believe, at the wheel of car number 10. So we saw him recover from that moment down there. And the number 5 car as well, no harm, no foul there either. Ozzie Negri then quickest at the moment in the early stages of this prototype qualifying. But a 2 minutes 11.7, so a full 10 seconds away from what the GTLM cars were able to do during their session. Yeah, it's almost dark now. What time is this session supposed to be over? It's supposed to be over. Oh, yes, it was. Only a couple of minutes behind the total schedule, I believe. It really is a challenge out there. Lights really standing out brightly now. The scoring pylons and the Ferris wheel on the just outside of the International Horseshoe shining brightly. Number 37 car, SMP Motorsports, Michael Alishin in car number 37, so a 208.839. He's just eclipsed there by Oz Negri, a 207.6. So that moves himself now in the top sort of 15 or so of the overall order. Pipo Derani, 2 minutes 12.00. Number 02, Chip Ganassi, Ford Chip Ganassi Racing entry, also coming across the line as well. But conditions so far right now, even with what couple of laps completed here by the 3 laps completed, 2 flying laps by the prototype contenders, only 2 of them on the front page of the scoring chart. So only 2 of them in the top 20, 25, 26 positions.
Yeah, so Dane Cameron not yet appearing on the top screen, but he's very close to it in the 31. So yeah, 28th position for Dane Cameron, a 2:10.016. Ricky Taylor in the 10 car, a 2:11.788. Certainly works better when you keep the 10 car on the track, which I think he managed to do during that lap. The 2 car, Pipa Durrani driving that machine, a 2:12.055. But is it the P2 type cars that are the quicker ones? Yes, it is, because Osnegri in the 60 Michael Shank Racing Ligier best placed, and that's BR01, the Bro car, Michaela Lashin driving that for Russian squad SMP Racing, and it heads out onto the banking now. Meanwhile, the 90 car, the visitflorida.com Corvette, maybe not today, but it's going to be a nice weekend, we promise.
Well, look at that car twitching as he goes up onto the banking there. Is that Ryan DL, you say?
Not sure. That's the Dallara built Corvette,
no,
isn't it?
No, it's the Coyote Corvette, that one.
Oh, is it Coyote car?
Yeah.
Beg your pardon. And the 90 car, sorry, it's the 10, isn't it? It's the Dallara built one.
Correct.
And the 90 car is Ryan DL, you're right.
Okay. 2 minutes 13.6 for Ryan. That car twitching around viciously as he tried to put the power on, going up the hill onto the banking, the exit of turn 6, the end of the infield. There goes Pipo Durrani, who has just gone fastest in this session, and with that he celebrates by going straight on at turn 1, or completely misses the apex of the corner, so this lap won't be so quick now, but a 2:06.3 there for Luis Felipe Durrani. Pipo Durrani, who was a bit of a revelation here. There he goes, a replay here of him running way out into the escape road at turn 1, but again, no harm, no foul, able to turn left and rejoin the racetrack without doing getting any serious trouble. Bit of a revelation at the Raw test 3 weeks ago, because Pipo was jumped himself right up at the top of the charts at the very end of that session, and that was a good morale booster for this ESM Tequila Patrón team. He's going to be driving for them in Europe this season in the World Endurance Championship, and just got a good opportunity here to get the team all on the same page, working very closely in association with On-Road Automotive and Oak Racing. And Pipo drove, of course, one of the Ligiers last year with the G-Drive organisation. Had a lot of success in WEC, and certainly relishing the chance to get back here to North America. Had some success here in the Pro Mazda Championship a couple of years ago, driving for Florida-based Team Pelfrey. He won a race, if I'm not mistaken, a year or 2 ago. Certainly was up amongst the podium finishers until he decided that he needed to head on over to Europe again, where he'd raced before, originally from Brazil, and looking forward to this season with the Tequila Patrón ESM team in the World Endurance Championship P2 category in 2016. That'll be its primary focus. So Durrani not yet he managed to better the PC time of Johnny Mollem, nor is Michaela Lushin, who goes fastest in the prototype cars. 9th overall now for car number 37, the Russian. Will be driving in the IndyCar Championship this season, and he turns a 2:05.793, so now within a few fractions of a second of Johnny Mollem's time in the PC car. The conditions now is definitely worse. The visibility is worse. The lights are shining brightly here now, and it's very much dusk. If you can see the sunshine, which of course we can't.
Johnny, can you just confirm to me that we're all pole position?
Joe, talk to me, because I can't hear you any other way, so right, just go ahead.
I'm just wondering if that is an overall fastest time of all of the 4 sessions, because I know the GT cars were really, really quick.
Right.
No, Joe, it's a long way off in actual fact. Yeah, Michaela Lushin, he's fastest as the prototype contenders, 9th fastest overall, but the grid will be set with the prototype cars at the front,
yes,
and then the GT cars behind them. There'll be a split grid as usual in the IMSA sanctioned series. So even though he might not be fastest overall, this is for the overall pole position for Saturday's 54th Rolex 24 at Daytona? Good question. So ninth fastest overall, Michael Aleutian, just fractionally behind Johnny Molam, and there goes Aleutian. He just blew the chicane actually on the back straight of the bus stop. He left his braking a little bit too late down there, had to go straight through. Supposed to come to a complete stop there. Not quite sure he did that, but he made a reasonably good effort to slow down the car. So this will not be an improvement this time around. We've still got just over 2 minutes to go in this session, so Aleutian should be able to come around now and have time for one more lap. That is, if he doesn't come onto pit lane.
Joe, yes, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I just want to tell you guys, it is really, really raining now.
With the floodlights down in the pit lane, it almost looks like snow. I mean,
really?
It is hammering down, isn't it? And you're in it.
And I'm in it, yes, very much so. Make my way down to the ESM pit because I'll be very, very surprised if someone beats that time now. Yeah. Because the rain is really, really hammering now.
Yeah, no chance, Joe. I think you're absolutely right. Sorry you've got to cope with these horrendous conditions. It really is. That's incredible, isn't it? You're right. It does look like snow from here. And we saw Aleutian did indeed bring that car onto pit lane. So discretion, a better part of valor there for SMP Racing. Very smart move, I would say.
Joe's all right. He's got a very smart red IMSA radio waterproof jacket.
Yes, he has.
So he'll be fine.
And the new waterproof pants, right? Trousers as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Being put to good use. Very much so this weekend.
Goodness.
And cars spinning everywhere. Yeah, over on the far side there.
I'm not so sure we'd be racing if this was... where's that car going?
Very good question.
Crikey.
I was trying to work out whether it was about to enter the infield or come back off it onto the banking, but it was trying to negotiate turn 1, and it was...
02 car.
The 02 car. Wow.
Who's driving that? That was a big moment.
Good question.
He was coming in... He could have quite easily gone flat out around the banking on that one.
Yeah. And the 01 with a moment coming out of the bus stop as well. Very nearly losing it, but not quite. And the 02...
Dixie. Scott Dixon.
Wow, OK. Well, this goes back to my point about, it doesn't matter what experience you've had in the past, what level of a pro driver you are, you're going to get caught out in these conditions because the car is not behaving in any sort of conventional manner. And there is not a flag waved yet, although the session's being stopped. Now the checkered flag on the starter's gantry in front of us is waved, and the session comes to an end, and much celebration down at the team with pole position. It's the 37 SMP Racing squad that is the best of the prototypes, and the BR Engineering BR01, which has had a really good year in the European Le Mans Series, actually, back in Europe. A slow start, but went particularly well in Austria at the Red Bull Ring this year, and finished the season off well at Paul Ricard and Estoril too. But Michael Aleutian, with his single-seater experience, clearly doing the business in the prototype this weekend as well, Jeremy.
Yeah, very good car there. Paolo Cottoni there, the chief designer of that BR01 chassis. The same guy who designed the Peugeot 908 amongst other cars as well. So huge amount of success. Let's go down to a very wet and soggy Joe Bradley.
Michael Aleutian, pole position for the Daytona 24 hours. In such horrendous conditions, that was quite a job.
Yeah, I mean, the conditions were a bit crazy, and it's not very, I'm not very used to drive in US in such weather, especially on the oval. It's my first rain oval, and I can tell you it's pretty cool. But I'm very happy for the team, for all SMP Racing, and it's been a long way for us to get up here and, to be in this competition. Daytona 24 Hours is one of the main races in the world, and of course, we are very happy to be on pole with our Russian car, BR01. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, fantastic result for the BR01. And also, can I ask you, the lap time, was it just a case of going round and fingers crossed the lap time came?
Well, to be fair with you, when I put my best lap time, the big rain already came over. And a few last turns were very, very tricky. I almost lost my car, almost went to the wall, but somehow I managed to keep on the track, and here you go, pole position.
How difficult was it with the closed cockpit car? I'm sure the wipers couldn't cope. Were you able to see all right?
Well, that's one of the issues of closed car, but we have some special tricks to keep the wind clean window, but still it was not very easy because you know, it was all the fog was inside and it was difficult.
Thanks, Mikhail. Congratulations once again. Mikhail Elation, pole position for the Daytona 24 Hours 2016.